Sir, we can.
Okay. So today is 30th October 2020. So from Monday, timing will be 1 hour change. That is 8:30 to 9:30 instead of 7:30 to 8:30. Okay, so we'll go with the object-oriented JavaScript today. That is closures, and then some problems, and then we'll continue with the React one and the React project file. We'll continue with the project file. Okay, so this one will be continuing with that one. It was done in half. Okay, so this is the task for today. Let's continue with the closures. So on that day, we saw that when I create a function and assign a variable and look through this variable, this AI, it will return I. And since I is in the scope of this function, when I call AI when I execute AI, that is A0 of this function, I get 3 because I always is converted to the 3. Okay, at the end of the for loop, and this I will retain not the value of I, but the scope of I. Scope of I is this function. Therefore, when I call A0, A1, A2, it's giving me 3. So, if we change this return value of AI to another closure, that is, we create a function. Inside that function, we return this function. Then this X value becomes the local to this part, and this X is nothing but this X, and it does not have any reference of this I. So whenever we pass I, it captures this I as an X, and it always has the value of X, which will be new in every case. And in this case, we get proper value A of I as 0, A of 0 as 0, A of 1 as 1, A of 2 as 2. So this is how we do the closure. So instead of writing the function like here, we can create another function here also and call that function. It will be the same thing. So instead I create this self-invoking function, I will create another function here and call that instead of this self-invoking function. So that makes also the ultimate result same. So for this example, we can say function f is there, and I have variable a, which is an array. I have variable I, then I'll loop through it, I equal to 0, I less than 3, I plus plus, and then I will make a of I equal to some function. Maybe I can say function 1. Maybe I create a function 1 and I'll pass the I, and this function 1 I will create here, and I'll return a in this case. So let's do now. I create a function as func1. It takes the value of x, and I'll return a function. Same way here also I'm returning the function, this function. So only thing difference is that I create in a separate function to make the code cleaner, and I return this function here. and it will return the x. Here also the x is the local to this function. So even if I value changes, but this local value will remain same for for each I case of I. So now if I run this one also, it will give me the same result as this one, So I just keep it and will not go through it in the browser because it's same thing actually, only I change the position. So interesting problem here in the closure, which generally people ask is, the problem looks like this. So we have to create a function, or we have a function called as sum. When I pass value 1 and 2, it should give me the result from the cache. So we have to create a variable which caches the result of 1 and 2. And we have to check if the cache exists, we have to return from the cache. We have to return result from cache if it exists. Else it should calculate the sum and return the sum. So for example, if I call sum 1 and 2 first time, it will recalculate the value of 1 and 2, that is 3, and it should return me 3. But second time when I call sum 1, 2, it should not recalculate 1 plus 2, it should give me the result from the cache. And we already did this calculation here, so it will give me the result like this. It will come the result from the cache, that is 3. So first time only it should calculate, second time it should not calculate, it should give me the result from the cache. That is the task which we have to do. And to do this, we will do like this. Now let me comment it. Okay, so let's create a function sum. Initially, I'll not pass any value. And here I'll create a variable called as total or cache equal to an object. I create a variable called an object, and then I return the function which will take two parameters, x and y, and I'll create some key. For example, I create a key equal to, so it will be something like that, x concatenate with minus sign concatenate with y. So I created a key which has the x value, and then this is the concatenation to minus y. So I concatenate with the y, and I check if cache of key exists. That is, if this cache of key exists. If it exists, I can say console.log cache exists and returning cache exists. Just I'll say cache exists, and I'll return cache of key. Maybe I will give the value of cache of key here, that it cache exists with the value of this. And if this cache of key doesn't exist, then I'll create that cache of key with the value of x plus y. So right now I'm doing this only simple calculation, but let's say that you have a very big calculation. So the big calculation result will go into the cache key, and I'll return. I'll type same thing. I'm copy pasting here. Cache does not exist. So cache does not exist, and so I'm returning this calculated value which is saved in the cache. So what we are doing, we are creating a variable inside the scope of this sum. Okay, we are creating the variable inside the scope of this sum, and then we create a closure function. Since we are returning the function, this is called closure function. And in that closure function, we create a key and check if cache of key exists. Then we return from the cache of key, else we calculate the x plus y, save it in the cache of the key, and return the cache of the key. Here the cache does not exist, therefore we calculate it. And here cache exists, we don't do the calculation, which is very heavy part. Here it is simple because I took the simple example, but in reality, let's say it's a very big complex calculation. So it will take from the cache. And this function has the scope of this cache also. So this function can access this cache irrespective of if it is written also on the global space. Even then also it will able to access the cache because of the closure, and because this function is created inside this function, and because of lexical scope of this function is inside this sum, so this function can access the cache variable. So I will just click enter. Now I'll create another variable, for example sum, with the same name, and I'll assign this function to the same name. So this name is same, so that I can call sum. First time when I call the sum, it will return me this function, and it will assign to this sum, and it will have the cache in the memory. And now this new sum is not this whole part. This new sum is this function which takes the parameter x and y. And if I pass sum of 1, 2, since cache is not created, first time it will go here, and if I press enter, I'm saying the cache does not exist. I'm getting the result of 3. But if I do it again, it's saying cache exists 3, and it is returning from the cache. So the first time we are going to this part, and from the second part we are going to this part. So let's do it again. Sum of 3 and 2 and 4, 3. So it's the first time this we are passing 2 and 3, so cache does not exist. We return the 5. And second time if I run, so cache exists, and I am getting the value of the 5. So this is an example of closure, and this is asked in some of the interviews. So I'll just save it in our JavaScript file so you can use it whenever you need it. I'll make a folder called closures, and then create the function sum. And just formatting. Okay, so this is the this is the one. I can skip the var variable also, make it global. Yeah, so this sonar is doing warning kind of thing, but it's fine for our purpose. Okay, so this is done, and we are done with the problems also. This problem which we did now. Let's go with our checkbox and hit the button. Okay, let me open the one second. Let me open the project. So on the previous day, yesterday, we saw the radio button. Here is the radio button, and we saved it in the radio button. We saved it in the testing checkbox, and we saved the location, Peninsula SFO Eastway. This is only in the radio button. Now we have to move with the checkbox. Checkbox is, let's say, hobby movies and hobby hiking. So let's say a person has different hobbies, movies, hiking, and other things. Either we can save it in an array, all the hobbies, or we can create another field, and for each one we can say true or false. If user likes that hobby, we will make it true, and if user does not like it, we'll make it false. So that is what we'll do with the checkbox. This is what we did with the radio button. Now let's go to the checkbox. Let's build a checkbox widget. I have checkbox widget. This checkbox widget will have div, and inside div I will create form.check. This is the checkbox, like we did for the radio button. Same thing we'll do for the checkbox. In the checkbox, we'll not loop through inside this checkbox component, because checkbox is individually, let's say, hobbies, movies. So we will pass hobbies, movie for each checkbox, and another checkbox is hobby hiking. So we'll create another checkbox component for hobby hiking. So each checkbox will give only one checkbox. So I'll say form.check. Type will be checkbox. Name will be whatever name I'll send from the previous component. Label will be whatever label I'll send from previous component. And on change of this, I will call some function, maybe called as handle change. And here I'm not using props, because this I'll create a local function here, not from the previous one. And the value will be whatever value coming for this checkbox. So I'll make it value. So this will be coming from the previous page. So I have to write props.value. Okay, so I have the form checkbox with props.name, props.title, handle change. I'll create handle change function here. It will take E. E is nothing but the event which will be passed from this form, and it has E dot. For the checkbox, we are concerned with E dot target dot. I'm not concerned with target dot value, because value is something which I know, which is coming from the previous page. I'm concerned with that E dot target dot checked, if it is checked or not. And I will also pass one function from the previous page. Once I click the checkbox, the result of this checkbox should go to the previous page. So I will call one function from the previous page that is called as a props dot handle checkbox. So this function will be passed from the previous page to save this data in the variable. So it should only have the value here called as val. It may be whatever value I want to return it. I will create a value, and here, okay, here there will be name also, name and value, because there will be multiple checkbox. So I have to pass the name and the value. Name will be nothing but, I can use this name also because it is the same name which I am using it, or I can use e.target.name. Both will have same name, because this one e.target name will be nothing but this name, and this name we are getting from the previous page. So I'll pass the name e.target.name, and the value will be, if I click the check box, I should have some value. If I uncheck it, I should have different value. So I can say if e.target.checked, if it is checked, I can pass 1, otherwise 0. So if user checked it, I can pass 1, and if user unchecked it, I can pass 0. Or I can also say if user checked it, pass X, and if user uncheck it, pass Y. Depending on my logic, depending on what I want to say, when user check it, I can change the value here, and I pass this value here. So the base is, for our case, it is true or false. If user checked it, I will say true. If user uncheck it, I will say false. And this handle checkbox will save the name and value which it has. So this is about the checkbox. Let's try to use this in the previous page. So we have this checkbox. Let's add one more checkbox, two checkbox, one for hobby hiking and one for hobby movies. In the first case, I will give the name of hobby hiking. I will give the value equal to, what will be the value? Value will be form values dot hiking, and what will be the title? Title will be hiking. That is what are my hobbies. I'm trying to use the hobbies as a checkbox. And what else is needed? We pass the name, we pass the title. The title is spelling wrong. We have to pass the value which we pass it, and we have to pass this handle checkbox function. So I will pass the handle checkbox equal to handle checkbox, and this handle checkbox I will create it here. This handle checkbox will be nothing. I copied this handle change. So handle checkbox will get the name and value pair from its checkbox utility. So here I have to say name and value. E.process will not be there for this, and this form value will set the name which is coming with the value which is coming here. So handle checkbox has a name and the value coming, and I am setting the form value with the name which is coming and the value which is coming. Even if I go to handle checkbox, it will check. If the checkbox is checked, it will return true, and if it is not checked, we will return the false. And with the name, it will return the value. And this is the checkbox. And same thing which we will do with the hobby movies. So here only I'll change hobby movies. And here I'll say movies. Okay, I changed it to here. Let me copy this and put it below. Put it below the hobby. So first checkbox will be coming as a hobby. Second will come as a movies. And I have to check which hobbies I have. And here I write down hobbies, which hobbies I have. So this way we can have multiple checkbox, and each checkbox has its own key value pair, and which will be saved in the database as a separate key value pair. So this is one way of doing the checkbox, that we keep each checkbox as a separate field and save it in the database as a separate field. But sometimes these fields will become very longer and you don't want to create so many fields. Then we will use the checkbox in an array where you can create all the values of the checkbox in an array and save it in the database. So that is the second thing which we'll see. Now if I go and refresh the page, so I will see these hobbies, and I have hiking and movies. If I click hiking, you will see in the form value, hobby hiking is become true. If I uncheck it, you will see hobby hiking become false. If I check movies and hiking both, you will see hobby hiking is true, hobby movies is true. I can uncheck it again and it becomes false again. Let's take it again, and let's take the location also, try to submit it, and we'll see this here. So we have the fourth record, and it has hobby movies as a true, location South Bay Area, and hobby hiking as a true. So this is how we handle the checkbox. You go through this video multiple times, try to do this example first by looking at it and try to do without looking at it to see if you can understand this properly. If you do without looking, you will know why each thing is done, because you may not do right thing and you will then go back and try to fix it. And this way you can remember it. If you do only by looking, then you may not remember it, because you will do as it is and you will always get the good results. And if you get good result, you will not learn anything. Okay, now next thing which we'll do is checkbox in an array. So this means, let's say if I have, okay, yeah, Anand is saying agreed. So that's what we have to, you have to do it multiple times and try to do without looking second time. That way you will see what things are missing, and then you can fix those things, and that way you will remember it. And we will be doing a lot of things in our project, so it is better you do every day. Otherwise, after 3 months, there will be so much videos. It will be about 200-300 hour video, and it will be difficult for you to really, do all the things again. So it's better you do every day as I do. Otherwise, you will be lost in the end. We'll be making all kinds of websites, and if you do these basics, then only you will be able to understand those. And if you don't do basics, then once we start the real project, then it will be very difficult for you to understand, and things will go very fast after I complete this small projects. Okay, let's go again now to checkbox. So we saw checkbox, we saw radio button, and now checkbox in an array. If I have lot of hobbies, let's say about 100 hobbies, then creating 100 fields here is not advisable. So we can have something like location array, something as hobbies array, and we can save hobbies array in the array format. So it's better to use one field only if we have lot of checkboxes and we have to save many of them in the database. So we will use some kind of array, like I have created location array. You can create a hobbies array. You can create anything what you want. Okay, let's try to do now the checkbox in an array. Now let's first see what things we are passing in the checkbox array, and then we will make the checkbox in an array. Okay, so let me open the add one. So first I will build this checkbox in array. I will pass the parameters here, and then we will take use of those parameters. So first thing is I need a function to handle checkbox in array. So I will call the handle checkbox. So this handle checkbox will be same as this handle checkbox, even though we are having the array for this one. But this functionality will not change, because ultimately we have to save the name and the value. So even if value is array or a single value, this function will handle both the cases. So I will keep this function same. So I will not change that function. Next thing, I'll pass the name which is like location array. I created this location array name. If you see here, location array, so the name will be location array. Then I will go with the title equal to, since I want to use a location, I will use the same title which I have kept it here. Choose the location that fits best. In this case, I am saving it as a location only, the simple value with radio button. Here I will save multiple values in one single field. And then value, which value I have to pass. So value will be in this format. Only thing, the name will change from location add to location array. Then there will be options. And options will be same, because I want to do location, I will take the same options. I can choose different option also if I have, but for example purpose, I'll use the same one. So that's all we need, which we want to pass there in the checkbox in an array. Now we'll make this checkbox in array function. I can use props, and I can use as props.name like this if I want to use it. But I can also destructurize, as I showed when I was teaching React, that what parameters I'll be getting. I can destructurize and I can directly use without using props. So I know that I will get handle, checkbox, I'll get the name from the previous one, title, value, and option. These fields will come from the previous page, that is this one. So instead of writing the props, I can directly put the curly bracket and destructurize and directly take the name of them. Okay, now in the checkbox in the array, let's call the form also in the checkbox in array. Inside the div tag, I will start with the form dot label. I'll give some style, font weight equal to bold, margin top equal to 10 pixel. Okay, this is the form label, and inside that I will get the title. Now I'll not write down props or title because I'm getting title directly here, which I can use it here. So either you pass the props here, and then you can use props.title, props.name, props.handle checkbox. But another way is to destructurize it, and then we can directly use the name. Okay, now I have these options which I will loop through. So I'll say options if I have options, and options dot length is greater than 0. That means it has some array, it has some value. And then I'll say options dot map, and in the map I have arrow function, and each row is called item in the map. and I'll return same thing what I written in the checkbox, that is this part. But here we need to modify something. First thing, I need to add the key. Key will be item.value, because item.value will be different for each case. And what is the item.value? Item.value is this one, SFO South Bay area. So this will be the unique. Each will be a different case, different name. So I can use item.value because we need the key, unique key for each checkbox. And type will be checkbox. And in this case, we don't need the name because this will be multiple checkbox and I don't need the name for each one. But I need the label. Label will be item dot, what I'm getting, item dot label. So I will get item dot label here. And on change, I will create my function handle change here somewhere. So I will use handle change. And for the value, I will use this item dot value. So this way, I'll get the multiple checkbox, and each checkbox will have the value of this value and label of this label. And name will not be given here because name will be passed in this function which I will create here. Name will be passed in this function. This function will take E as a parameter. Okay, so this is how we build the checkbox. So if I see this checkbox in the page, you will see I get this checkbox. But right now it will not do anything because I have to write the function to handle each checkbox. So let's write down this function. This function is little complicated. Just try to understand it. First thing, I will use e.persist to make avoid the error. You know, this many times we get E when we try to change the checkbox or input box. So to prevent that, I will use e.persist. Now I will create a local variable array, and it will have the predefined values in it. So whatever value we pass it, that means whatever value we pass it here. So initially this will be the empty array. So how this will work? Initially it will be empty array. So I'll get this array as empty array. When I check something, I want to fill it, this array, with SFO, for example. And second time, let's say if I check South Bay area, I will get SFO, and second parameter will be South Bay area. So this should come like this. And if I check third checkbox, it will be appended here, like peninsula. So I want something array to be filled like this one. So initially when array will come, it will be empty array. So I have to fill this array. Let's fill this array. I will do first console.log arr is array. Okay, now I will fill this. Array with the first value SFO. So I will say if not e.target.check, that means if it is not checked, I will do something else. I will do something. That means if else is there, that means something is checked in the checkbox and I have to do in the else part. So what I have to do in the else part, I will push. I will say array.push e.target.value. So let's say if I check San Francisco, it will go inside this one and it will be e.target.checked. So I will not go inside if case, I will go inside the else case. So I'll say array.push e.target.check. So this array will become SFO, and I have returned this I have to return this so that it should be updated in the location array. So what I will do, and how to return it, by calling this handle checkbox function. So I will say handle checkbox with the name. What name I have to pass? The name which I have, this one. And what is the value? Value should be the array, which is this one. So right now when I click the first one, I will get SFO. Second time it will get this one. Third time it will get this one. Let's try this one now. Now I will let me refresh the page to show you what is the initial one. So when I open the initial page, you will see this location array is empty kind of thing. So let's fill first one. I check the first one. If you see now, array is empty initially. If you see, the location array is SFO. Why it is SFO? Because I got the e.target.checked, then I pushed the e.target SFO in this array, and I return the array with the name of location array. So this value array is coming in the location array and updating this value. Let's try to add one more, South Bay. So if you see location array, we have SFO previously, I added South Bay. Let's try to add all. And in the last, location array has all the values here in this. That is, I lived in all the places, for example. This is the meaning. But what if I uncheck it? I don't want this one. It's still location array as SFO, so we have to delete it. If someone uncheck it, we have to delete it. Or what if now I add it again? You will see SFO is coming here and SFO is coming here. So we don't want this. Once SFO is there, we don't want duplicate entries of SFO in this. So let's fix this part. So what I'll do, when someone uncheck it, I have to delete from this array. And how to delete from the array? We have already seen in our project that we find the index and we use a splice to delete it. Let's do same thing here. So I will find the index in the array. I'll say array dot find index, and this index will be arrow function, and we pass something as row, for example. So this row will be nothing but this element. First time it will be SFO here, second time it will be South Bay area. Here in this here, first time it will be this, second time it will be this, third time it will be this. So row, so how we have to find it? I will say return row, that is this SFO, if it is equal to e.target.value, e.target.value. So something, if SFO is already there and I try to uncheck it, so I will get e.target value also SFO, and both are matching. That means I will get the index of first one, that is the 0. So index will become 0. If I am unchecking this South Bay area, so row will be first time SFO and it is not matching. And I'm unchecking this one. Second time row will be South Bay area and I am unchecking South Bay area, so I will get this matching for the South Bay area. So index will become 1. So whatever I will uncheck, index will become that part. And here I will say if index is not equal to -1, that means we found the index. If we don't found the index, index will become -1. If we uncheck something which is not there in the array, then we'll get -1. So if the index is not -1, then only we have to delete it. If index is -1, we don't have to delete it. That means it doesn't exist. Then I will use the splice function, which we already did. I will say array.splice. It starts from the index where you want to delete, and here I want to delete from the index. And how many elements I want to delete? I want to delete one element. So if SFO is 2 times, Now, if SFO is already present, then I will delete this on unchecking. So first time, let's say if I check SFO, it will come in this array. Second time, if I uncheck it, it will go and find the index. And if we find the index, we will delete this SFO. That is the purpose of this part. If means that if it is there, I have to delete it because I unchecked it. Minus not equal to e.target.check means I unchecked it. So let's do this one again. I checked it, so I see it is SFO. But then I unchecked it, you will see location array become empty because I deleted it. Let's add it all. I'm adding it all, and now I'm deleting it. So if I delete it, you will see it goes from this one. So I'm deleting it. Now location array is empty. Okay, so this is for the delete part. Let's comment this for a bit so that I can show you how to fix the duplicate error part, duplicate value part. Let's say if I add these two, I get location array as SFO and South Bay Area. But I uncheck it, nothing will happen because I commented this part of unchecking. So I'm not able to delete it if I uncheck it. But what if I check it again? I get SFO again 2 times. So if uncheck part was not there and if I check this 2 times, I'm getting 2 times SFO. That should be avoided. So let's fix that one now before we uncomment the uncheck box. So here in this case also, I need to find the index. Since I need to find the index both the cases, let's put the index out of the if block and we'll try to find the index in both the cases. So index will be, I loop through the array and I find if the index which I'm trying to uncheck or check it. And here I will say if index is not equal to -1, that means if we don't found South San Francisco, then only push it. If we find the San Francisco, then don't push it. So what will happen if I have added SFO already and second time if I am trying to add it, it will find the index, and since index will be there, so here I have to say equal to. Since index will be there, I don't want to push it. And if index is not there, that means if it is -1, then only push it. Because if SFO is there, index will get some value and I don't want to push it in that case. But if we don't get any value, that means index will become -1 and then only I want to push into this array. Let me do it again and then I'll repeat one more time so that it's little complex, but once you go through it, it will be easy. So I will check it and then let's check one more time. So here I will be having 3 values. Now if I uncheck it, then also I have 3 values because I commented the part of deleting it on uncheck. Now if I click this, you will see still I have a 3-1. I don't get any additional SFO because I got the index of 0, and if index is 0, I don't push it. I only push it if I get index of -1. That means if that checked value is not there in the array, then only I push it. If it is there, then I don't push it. So I have to check. Now I'll uncheck this part, uncomment this part. So now what will happen? When user will uncheck it, it will delete it. and when a user will check it, it will add it in the array and ultimately submit it. So I will add two values. Now I will remove one value. So here I am getting removed. Then again I add it. Again it is adding it. Like this I'll add, for example, all, and I'll submit it to see in the database. So in the database, if we see the location array, we have array with all the values in it. So that is how we handle the checkbox in array. Let's go through this again. We have the multiple checkbox and we use options.map to loop through all the checkbox. In each case, we have the item.value for each checkbox and we have the label for each checkbox, which is nothing but this value and the label. And on change, that means when I check or uncheck, I call a local function called as handle change. And in handle change, I create a variable array, which is nothing but the copy of the value. And this value is nothing but our form value, this one. So initially I take the value, I find the index of which I am checking or unchecking it. And if I am unchecking it, and if index is present, then I delete it. And if I'm checking it, and if index is not present, then I add it. And ultimately I save it in the parent function. And that way we save all the checkbox. This is initially a little confusing because you have to do multiple times yourself to see how the things are happening. So this part is something I'm using not equal to, because I want to check if index is there, and here I have to check if index is not there. So I will use -1 here, and here I will use not equal to -1. That's it for this checkbox in an array. So like we have made this checkbox in array, next time in the real case we will just use this functionality that's already built. We need to pass the key and value pair. Rest everything will be built already. That's why I built the checkbox in array component. So that's all for today.